Did you know that 74% of American adults use Facebook? In fact, over half of all Americans get their news from Facebook. It's a massive platform with a staggering amount of daily users. But it wasn't always this way. In 2004, Mark Zuckerberg, a computer science student at Harvard University, created a website called the Facebook while still in his dorm. It started off as a basic web page where students could view each other's profiles and connect with one another. But over time, the site evolved, becoming what we now know as the behemoth that is Facebook. And since its launch, it has changed our lives for the better and for the worse. Before we begin, let me just say this is not an anti-Facebook video. In fact, I believe that Facebook does more good than bad. But there are some very important drawbacks that we must be aware of if we want to make sure that Facebook remains a force for good. Most people don't realize that Facebook is not a public service. Instead, it is a private company whose main purpose is to turn a profit for its shareholders. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going around planting landmines in children's playgrounds or polluting the environment. But it does mean that the main goal of the company is not to make your life better, but rather to make money. And like any company, they need to come up with clever ways to increase profits. And the way they do this is by harvesting and selling your data. Let's look at how Facebook makes money. So when you sign up for Facebook, you allow them to collect certain data about you. This data includes your likes, your dislikes, the pages you view, and even the posts that you make. By collecting all this data, Facebook can start to build a profile of you, which they then sell to advertisers so that they can show you relevant ads. For example, let's say you're planning on buying a new car. Well, if you've been doing a lot of research on cars on Facebook, there's a good chance that you will see ads for cars on Facebook. The same thing goes for almost everything else that you could buy. Facebook uses your data to determine what ads to show you, which means that the more data they have on you, the more effectively they can advertise to you and the more money they can make. But wait, you might be thinking, I don't click on those ads and I never give away my personal information. So how exactly are they able to target me? Well, it turns out you don't even have to click on those ads for Facebook to make money. Even if you never click on an ad, simply seeing an ad can be enough for Facebook to make money. That's because every time you log on to Facebook, you allow them to collect data from you, including the exact device that you're using, the type of browser you're using, your general location, and even the types of posts that you engage with. All of this information allows companies to develop a general profile of who you are, which they then use to determine what types of ads to show you. And when you see those ads, there's a good chance that you'll be more likely to buy whatever it is that they re-advertise in. And that is how Facebook makes money. Now, you might be wondering, what's wrong with that? After all, isn't it free to use? Well, yes, it is free to use, but the price you pay is your privacy. And the problem with that is that once your data is out there, you can't really do anything about it. Here's a real-world example of how this works. In 2019, a whistleblower came forward with evidence that showed that Facebook allowed thousands of companies to collect user data without their consent. These companies included Netflix, Spotify, and even the FBI. Now, the worst part of this story is that these companies were able to collect user data without their consent. It's that Facebook did nothing to stop it. The reality is that Facebook has a lot of power over what we see and say online. In fact, a recent investigation by Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives found that Facebook's algorithms prioritize sensationalist and extremist content, which spreads faster than other content on the platform. This means that when you log onto Facebook, you're more likely to see fake news and propaganda than factual posts. And this isn't just limited to politics. It also applies to everyday content. For example, one study found that Facebook's algorithms promote videos with more extreme titles and thumbnails, This means that when you log onto Facebook, you'll be more likely to see videos that are designed to shock you or scare you, rather than videos that are designed to educate or inform you. So what exactly is the big deal? Well, the problem with this is that it creates a feedback loop. When you constantly see extreme and sensationalist content, it can cause you to become more radicalized. This means that the more time you spend on Facebook, the more likely you are to believe things that aren't true. And this isn't just a theory, it's backed up by science. One study found that Facebook's algorithms were amplifying fake news stories up to 6 times more than real news stories. Another study found that Facebook was responsible for at least 3 million shares of fake news during the 2016 U.S. presidential election. So what does this mean for us? Well, it means that we need to be extremely careful about the information that we see on Facebook. We also need to be aware of the potential dangers of believing everything that we see on Facebook. Another major drawback of Facebook is that it allows anyone to say whatever they want without any consequences. In fact, one study found that Facebook allows 3.8 million hateful comments every day. This means that when you log on to Facebook, you're more likely to see hateful and offensive content than positive and uplifting content. And this isn't just limited to text, it also applies to images and videos. For example, one study found that Facebook allows 200,000 inappropriate images every day. These images include things like violence, hate speech, and even child exploitation. So what exactly is the big deal? Well, the problem with this is that it creates a toxic environment. When you're constantly exposed to hate speech and offensive content, it can cause you to become This means that the more time you spend on Facebook, the more likely you are to accept things that are hateful and offensive. And this isn't just a theory, it's backed up by science. One study found that exposure to hate speech on Facebook increased participants' implicit bias against minority groups. Another study found that exposure to hate speech on Facebook increased participants' willingness to endorse hateful statements. Finally, one of the most dangerous aspects of Facebook is that it allows anyone to create a fake account. This means that when you receive a friend request from someone on Facebook, you can't be sure if it's really them or someone pretending to be them. In fact, one study found that nearly 1 in 5 Facebook accounts are fake. This means that when you log onto Facebook, you could be talking to a bot or a person with bad intentions. And this isn't just a theoretical risk. It's a real and present danger. In fact, one study found that fake Facebook accounts are commonly used to spread fake news, propaganda, and spam. Another study found that fake Facebook accounts are often used to impersonate real people and businesses. So what can we do to protect ourselves from these dangers? Well, the first step is to be aware of the risks. If we don't understand the risks, then we're more likely to fall victim to them. The second step is to be proactive. We need to take steps to protect ourselves, such as being careful about the information that we share and being wary of friend requests from people that we do not know. The third step is to hold Facebook accountable. Facebook has a responsibility to protect its users from harm, and we need to hold them accountable when they fail to do so. Overall, Facebook is a powerful tool that can be used for good or evil. It's up to us to make sure that we use it for good. And that starts with being aware of the dangers of Facebook and taking steps to protect ourselves from them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.